the video I took yesterday cut off before I was ready to finish it. So I just wanted to finish up the demonstration and show you how to make a cast shadow and a horizon line, or in this case it would be a tabletop. If it were a landscape, it would be a horizon line. So that will give the apple a place to sit and just give it a little more of a realistic feel. So I'm going to refer back to the black and white monochrome to give me a guide about how to create that cast shadow, going from dark, middle, and then light values. And then also I'm going to create a tone that is slightly lighter than this, probably something in this shade, sort of a bluish white, just to create a little more contrast so that you can see more of the cast shadow. So I'm going to start with my white pastel. I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean. And a little bit of blue just to tone that white down a little. And I am using another book for a guide to figure out what the shadows and what the tabletop or horizon line is going to look like as far as my values. And this book is called Pastel School. So I am deviating quite a bit from your tutorial, but I will offer another tutorial that follows that one more closely in the next episode, so you can go with that version if you would prefer. So I'm going to go in there with some blue just to create that horizon line. Say it's like a medium blue. Just using the side of my pastel, and it will also help cover up all of this at the bottom. Then I'll go over this with a little bit of white, and doing this makes the white a little bit more interesting instead of just reaching for the white stick or the white paint and saying, oh, it's white, it has to have, you know, just the color white. But in reality, white reflects colors around it. Sometimes it has blues, sometimes it has violets or grays. So I'm going to go back in maybe with a little bit of some violet, and that'll also tie in the violet I have on the apple to the board mount. Right. Then I'm going to compare, you know, how light I want this to be. So I want this to be a bit lighter, so it needs more white. I'm going to bring this up here. Maybe just lighten that up a little. Think about where. Now, the one thing you really don't want to do is to divide it in half. So I'm going to make this my horizon line so it's not quite 50-50, which is good. Then it will just cut the painting in half, which is not so good. Just try to bring some unity in there. I'm trying to work fast because my memory on the camera is limited, but you don't have to work quite so fast. Maybe I'll try to reinstate go over that horizon line. So let's make sure that our cast shadow is going to be darker than the horizon line. And then it's going to fade out to something lighter. So I'm just going to be a little more deliberate and draw in that cast shadow. And it's an ovular type of shape. Because the circle itself, it creates an oval cast shadow shape. So whatever the shape is affects the kind of shadow that it's going to make. Great. So I'm going to darken that up still more. Keep adding some more blue. Maybe I'll also darken this up a little bit. Or maybe, you know, just start lightening it up, and that might make it appear darker than it, you know, really is. And then just smoothing out, you know, let it feather out. Okay. So we got really dark. Maybe I'll try to create more of a transition. Try to create more of a transition here. So now I am going to switch to something rather dark, like a dark blue, and try to put in those really dark values for you. Maybe we'll feather it out a little. I'm going to put these colors right next to each other. Maybe, you know, fade out those edges just a little. So now I'm going to turn my attention up here because I do want to cut it in half, and it's pretty close to that. So I'm going to go back in with that light green that I used before. Just extend the top of the painting maybe about a ½ inch or so. So I'm just extending this up. You can always make a compositional change. Then I'm going to go over it with a darker green. This is just a little bit more interesting than reaching for a green pastel stick. You can have a little more interest. Then I'm going to go back in and desaturate it a little with some burnt sienna. So I hope you can see that. Bring it all the way up.